Good morning, everybody. This is Casper from the Tropical Weather Threat Society bringing you a special update on Tropical Storm Melissa that will very soon become Hurricane Melissa down here into the Caribbean Sea. Looking at the National Hurricane Center's main page, as you can see, we have still the tropical storm icon, but it won't be long that it will Melissa will finally become a hurricane. Taking a look at the satellite view, you could see a lot of bubbling shower and thunderstorm activity, some very, very strong and tall hot towers associated with the circulation of Melissa. I'm going to pull up the long wave imagery here from the mesoscale site of the GOES satellite, and if you'll notice, you see a lot of these percolating white, like little spots. That is the temperature of the tops of the clouds, and they are extremely, extremely cold, which then would translate to very, very powerful thunderstorm activity at that point. For its public advisory, the 8 a.m. intermediate advisory was located at 16.4 north, 75.0 west, about 160 miles southeast of Kingston, Jamaica, and about 235 miles southwest of Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Maximum sustained winds is now up to 70 miles an hour, moving west-northwest at just a ludicrous speed of 1 mile an hour. Minimum central pressure down to 982 millibars. We currently have a hurricane warning in effect for Jamaica. All preparations need to be rushed to completion immediately. A hurricane watch is in effect for the southwestern peninsula of Haiti from the border with the Dominican Republic around to Port-au-Prince. And in that same location, a tropical storm warning is in effect. Interests elsewhere in Haiti, the Dominican Republic, eastern Cuba, the Bahamas, and the Turks and Caicos Islands should monitor the progress of Melissa. Watches could be required for portions of eastern Cuba later today. Scrolling down to the most important part of a National Hurricane Center public advisory, hazards affecting land. Wind. Tropical storm conditions are expected to begin in Jamaica by tonight, with hurricane conditions expected by Sunday or Monday. Tropical storm conditions are expected and hurricane conditions are possible within the watch and warning area in Haiti later today. Rainfall. This is the biggest, this seems to be the biggest threat with Melissa. The wind is also a major, major threat as well. I am not trying to downplay that, but it does look like that the rainfall is the biggest threat here from Melissa. Not discounting any of the other threats that Melissa is going to present these folks down here over the coming days. Excuse me. Melissa is expected to bring total rainfall of 15 to 25 inches to portions of southern Hispaniola and Jamaica through Tuesday, with local maxima of 35 inches possible across the Tiburon Peninsula of Haiti. Additional heavy rainfall is likely beyond Tuesday. Uncertainty at that time range precludes exact storm totals. Potential catastrophic flash flooding and landslides are possible across portions of Jamaica and the southern Dominican Republic, while catastrophic flash flooding is anticipated in southern Haiti. Please understand the difference of the wording that they're using, saying that the potential is possible across Jamaica and the Dominican Republic, while the catastrophic flooding is anticipated or expected in southern Haiti. For eastern Cuba, total rainfall of 4 to 8 inches with local amounts to 12 inches is possible into Tuesday. Additional heavy rainfall is likely beyond Tuesday. Uncertainty at that time range precludes exact storm totals. Storm surge. Minor coastal flooding is likely along the coast of Jamaica starting by tonight in areas of onshore winds as tropical storm conditions begin to reach the area. However, there is a risk of a more life threatening storm surge, especially along the south coast of Jamaica later in the weekend or early next week. Peak storm surge heights could reach 5 to 10 feet above ground level, near and to the east of where the center of Melissa makes landfall. This storm surge will be accompanied by large and destructive waves. As far as our surf is concerned, the rip currents, the swells, stay out of the water. Looking at our this morning's forecast cone, the cone will shift at the primary advisories. You will not see any adjustment of the cone or the track with the intermediate advisories. The next primary advisory is 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We are currently looking at the 5 a.m. track, but through the 8 a.m. intermediate advisory graphic. As you can see, we have this coming up and coming south, major hurricane all the way through, turning then off to the north and then back to the northeast with the potential impact there into the south central portions of Jamaica. Any location to the east of that would receive those very strong onshore core winds that would lead to the highest values of storm surge, wind impacts, and potentially rain impacts as well. So please, folks, I cannot stress this enough. Rush all preparations to completion. I do know that a disaster declaration has been issued by the folks there in the government in Jamaica. That was issued last night. Our this morning's 6Z guidance. Let's see. Do we have there's the 12. It usually populates right about this time. So we do have the 12. And the one thing that I would like to be able to report here with this 12Z outlook, we here on this listing and grouping of numbers here on the right hand side, we do not have category 5 wind speeds. Now, that's not saying that this isn't still have the possibility of achieving category 5. I'm just letting everybody know that the wind speeds here on this right hand column, no number is 137 knots, which is the equivalent of a category 5 hurricane. So we don't see that here. No, that's at least some good news as far as trying to find the slightest bit of optimism to be able to communicate that to folks. Let's take a look here. I've got a different way of showing this, so if you guys give me a second, I'm going to dig something out here. As far as trends are concerned, so I know that we use Brian Tang's website quite a bit to show the trends, but Weather Models has now given us access and has really started to track the HCCA consensus model. And as you can see, the current model is the one highlighted in orange. The rest of the models are what they used to be. And as we could see, the HCCA model wants to bring this down south of about south central Jamaica there, and then turn it off to the northeast and maybe just barely clip the extreme eastern portions of the island. This would really benefit folks, maybe say in Montego Bay. You'd still get some significant impacts, but you wouldn't get that big time core wind impact at that point. So that may be could be beneficial, and it would certainly be beneficial for the port of Kingston and the capital there of Jamaica. That being said, as this were to come in at such an angle, You can imagine as it's going south of Jamaica and then on its way back, it's going to bring back some of that rain and impact towards the southwestern peninsula of Haiti here, and that could only exacerbate the potential humanitarian issue that we are looking at unfolding down there. All right. I do want to run through, we are going to run through real quick the deterministic runs. As you can see, uh, late night GFS, that's not the 6Z, it ends at the 0Z. Extreme eastern tip of Jamaica there. The Euro wants to bring it. We're starting to get some pretty good agreement on either central or eastern Jamaica. As you can see, the Euro is right there, central, eastern Jamaica. UK Met has really decided that it wanted to come back into the game. This has been absolute trash performance by the UK Met on Melissa. The CMC is still drifting back further and further to the east. I very rarely ever use the CMC in any of my calculations when it comes to the tropics because it usually has such a horrible performance that I never talk about it. And to be honest with you folks, I don't even look at it. I see where it runs on the spaghetti plots, but otherwise than that, I never look at the CMC. I really don't. It performs terribly when it comes to the tropics. It's and I cannot understand for the life of me why other pages would be like, look, this is what the CMC had to say. Who cares what the CMC had to say? The CMC is not used in any of the consensus, so who cares? I mean, we'll use it in comparison, but it really needs to perform a lot better than what it does in the tropics to be used as some kind of viable tool. The H Wharf, central portions of Jamaica, but rather quickly. Uh, Landfall maybe about 36 hours. Quite quickly, and that's from the 0Z. This isn't the 6Z. Let's see. Can we get 6Z? No, not yet. Okay. Intensity of that, high-end Cat 3. Never makes it to a Category 4. HMON, eastern portions of Jamaica here. Makes it up to right at Category 4 status. Minimal Category 4 would be 130 mile an hour winds at that point. Halves A, eastern portions of Jamaica. We're starting to notice a trend here, folks. And that one, unfortunately, makes it to Category 5, which is still possible. Halves B, eastern portions, extreme eastern portion here of Jamaica. And that also achieves Category 5 status within the next 48 hours. TC Coamps, eastern portions of Jamaica. Really, really that's almost directly onto Kingston. And TC Coamps brings it to a mid-grade Category 3 system within the next 36 hours, and it makes landfall. So there's certainly a timing discrepancy here that we're starting to notice, whether it be forward speed or not. The HCCA, as we were talking about, again, eastern tip has been trending further and further to the east and is now located there on the eastern tip of Jamaica. And with the intensity of a strong Category 3 falling just short of a Category 4, with the potential of seeing land interactions a little over 24 hours to then start to induce some weakening there. Getting into the TVCN consensus, this is more towards, I'd say, east central portions of Jamaica, is a little bit further west than what we have with the HCCA. And if we were to take a look at the intensity here, Category 3, and a low end Cat 3, only 115 miles an hour. I'm not too sure about that, because when we look at what the hurricane hunters are finding here right now, Category low end Cat 3, 115 miles an hour. That seems unlikely. I do believe that it will have a higher intensity. And as we have already seen, the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center has drifted back just a little bit to the east with the 5 a.m. advisory and is now. This would be terrible for folks here in Kingston. This is like the worst case scenario because you are bringing the potential of a high end Category 4 system, onshore wind, and the surge impacts with that right into Kingston Harbor. And that would be absolutely terrible. And notice how we get a more of a not as sharp of an angle as what we have with, say, the HCCA consensus. You can see how it turns, and then it's got that real sharp turn. The official forecast is more of a generalized and gradual turn, and then off to the northeast. So it would keep the core away from Haiti. So that's kind of some things that we're having to go through there, and then obviously for the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos. But we will get to all those countries here momentarily. Our forecasters discussion. Now, I am not going to read this top one. This is the 5 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time discussion. It's kind of outdated at this point in time, but we will go through and read paragraphs 2 and 3 as we always do, because that has to do with forecast track and forecast intensity. Melissa is currently moving slowly northwestward at 310 degrees at 3 knots. Steering currents will remain weak for the next 3 days, and Melissa is forecast to drift westward through Sunday night to the south of Jamaica. A sharp but still very slow turn to the north is expected Monday and Monday night. Unfortunately, a large majority of the latest reliable track models show Melissa making landfall on Jamaica in about 72 hours. What's most concerning here is that the island is likely to experience a couple days of heavy rainfall and tropical storm force winds before the core and strongest winds even reach the coast. An increase in forward motion is expected by days 4 and 5, with Melissa accelerating northeastward across Cuba and the southeastern Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands. Although there are some speed differences among the models, for the most part, the cross-track spread is generally small. Although some westerly shear is likely to continue for the next few days, high oceanic heat content and stronger upper-level divergence should be able to support significant strengthening. The dynamical model-based rapid intensification indices, DTOPS, in particular, are quite aggressive, showing a very high probability of a 55-knot increase in intensity over the next 48 hours. In addition, 41 of the 50 Google DeepMind Ensemble members show Melissa at a Category 4 or 5 strength by Monday afternoon, 60 hours, which is the same time that the NHC forecast continues to show a peak intensity of 135 knots. Although some slight weakening is possible after 60 hours, possibly due to the circulation interacting with land and or an eye wall replacement, Melissa still has a significant possibility of making landfall on Jamaica as a major hurricane. Melissa could maintain major hurricane strength when it reaches eastern Cuba, but increased shear should lead to weakening below major hurricane strength by day 5. And then we do have our key messages here. We will go over that in a graphical format. We still, again, 60 hours, 155 miles an hour, 72 hours, south coast of Jamaica, 145 mile an hour. Please rush all preparations to immediate completion. Looking at our hurricane hunters, as we could see, we're just getting the NOAA mission is coming in from the due south, and will be entering the core of the storm. That was 1310. So we will get information on this very, very shortly, maybe within about the next 2 minutes. 10-minute updates here from Tropical Tidbits, and this is mission number 11 on NOAA. I would pull up a different website, but it may crash the computer. Oh, looky here. We have the Air Force reconnaissance plane flying in there. We've got a value here of 982.2, is kind of circling in and around the center of circulation there. The overall wind speeds, okay, so I know how to read this, but I need to teach others how to read this. So we are looking at this particular graphic right here, this upper right hand box. If you notice the legend, rain rate is the red lines down here. Our surface wind are going to be our blue lines, as you can see here. But if you look at the blue lines, you'll see these little red dots. Those little red dots are suspect readings. You would not want to use those. You would potentially want to dismiss those. Now, we are looking here at the graphic data. The raw data has all that information, but we are starting to see some values of hurricane force winds at the surface. Now, whether they are suspect or not, I have not gone into the raw data to look, but we see values because if the 65 knot line right there, that line, anything above that red line would be 65 knots or the equivalent of a hurricane. Now, please keep in mind that other factors are going to take in. If it's a suspect reading, it's automatically dismissed. If it is, you've got to kind of line things up with the flight level winds as well. So there are some criteria that the storms would need to have for it to be classified as a hurricane. But I would not be surprised if it isn't in the very short order. If they take a little bit longer, they'll wait to upgrade it at the 11 a.m. advisory. But just looking at these, what we're looking for are going to be our purple flags. And if you notice, we are getting them on both sides of the center of circulation. So what we're getting is the tightening of this wind field around the core of the storm itself. So that it's sky's the limit now, folks. It's game on. Please rush all preparations to immediate completion. And to compare that even to the other one, again, the wind field is starting to pick up and tighten around this storm. All preparations need to be rushed to completion. All of them, especially in Jamaica. I'm going to hit the refresh on this and in hopes that we get it. Nope, we did not. So we're going to go and we're going to check on the University of Wisconsin and their readings, their remote satellite readings and stuff. And then we'll come right back to this and hit the refresh on this and see if we can't get the NOAA information, as the Air Force is, they're very close to one another. Very, very close to one another. They may wave to one another as they go by. It's not a clear eye, so they're not going to see each other. But, Our rapid intensification models, as you can see, our ships is not that strong. And I'm kind of surprised at that. I'm not going to lie. That is quite surprising. That this particular, that right there, and without the AI assistance, we come over here. And I'm shocked that it is as low as it is. I really am. DTOPS, on the other hand, said I've got a completely different scenario. And then if you put the AI with the detops, which I don't know how well that works, with the artificial intelligence added to it, but I can certainly say that 92%, 69, 81, and 80 respectively here on detops is quite intense. Maximum potential intensity 166 knots. So it's got plenty of fuel that it can work with and plenty of room to go. But it doesn't have it doesn't seem like it's got the amount of time that it would need, even though we have been shocked by many systems over the last couple years and their rate of intensification. So once this thing starts to go and it develops an inner eye wall structure and it is able to close that eye wall off, it's off to the races. The pressures will fall rapidly at that point. All right, looking at the University of Wisconsin and some of their data, 61 knots, 66, 63. This is going to be less than 3 hours old, as you can see here. So that I am anticipating seeing this being upgraded to a hurricane at the 11 a.m. advisory here this morning. Our shear analysis, they're saying 20 knots of shear, but as you can see, the storm is still able to intensify due to its vertical alignment, better vertical, structure, and the fact that it is over extraordinarily warm waters. All right, let's jump back here real quick. That one's on its way out for the Air Force mission, and what do we get here? 984. Quite strong winds here on the northern side. No purples. So, again, we will see exactly how this transpires, but just due to its continued organization, I anticipate this to become a hurricane here at the 11. I do. Our wind speed probabilities for our folks here. Grand Cayman, I know that we had been discussing that over the last couple days. You guys have pretty much fallen off the cliff with your potentials. You are down to a 16%. I am not going to mention you all anymore unless those percentages begin to rise again. Kingston, 96% chance of seeing tropical storm force winds. 73% chance of seeing those 50 knot or 58 mile an hour winds, and a 50% chance of seeing those hurricane force winds. Montego Bay, 94% chance of seeing those tropical storm force winds, 70% chance of seeing those 50 knot or 58 mile an hour winds, and a 44% chance of seeing those hurricane force winds. Guantanamo Bay, your numbers have continued to rise. 65% chance of seeing tropical storm force winds, 35% chance of seeing 50 knot or 58 mile an hour winds, and a 17% chance of seeing our hurricane force winds. Scrolling up a little further, a lot of our islands and points in Cuba are starting to have their potentials rise as well. I have got to figure out where this is. I don't even know. Mayaguana? I have no idea where that is located. I do need to look that up. 62% chance of tropical storm force winds, 34% chance of those 50 knot or 58 mile an hour winds, and a 20% chance of seeing hurricane force winds. Grand Turk, out there, Turks and Caicos, 40% chance of tropical storm force winds, 16% chance of 50 knot winds, and an 8% chance of seeing those hurricane force winds. San Salvador, 44% chance of tropical storm force winds, 24% chance of 50 knot winds, and 13% chance of seeing those hurricane force winds. And as far as Haiti is concerned, we are looking at around a 36 to 40% chance of seeing those tropical storm force winds. So that's it. Rain is Haiti's biggest threat. Okay, we will, and again, when we come back live at 1 p.m. this afternoon, we are going to go over all of these numbers again. We will continue to look at these numbers at every primary advisory as they come through to see whether these numbers are continuing to rise in a trend that would increase impacts and threats, or a trend like, say, with the Grand Cayman, who was 50% chance of seeing tropical storm force winds about 36 hours ago, that had a decent chance of seeing the potential 50 knot winds as well. We have now fallen back down to 16%. So the threat for the Grand Cayman has begun to reduce quite considerably. As far as Little Cayman and Cayman Brac are concerned, they're obviously a little bit further to the east, so their potentials are going to be a little bit higher, but obviously not something like what we see with Montego Bay. The rainfall forecast. This is the part that really concerns me. I got to get a different color. Let's get some white on this. As we can see here in this area of Jamaica and in this area of the Tiburon Peninsula of Haiti, isolated 30 inches plus. As you can see, 30 inches plus, should be using a different color for that one, 750 millimeters or higher. The Dominican Republic over here, we're not going to forget about you folks. Isolated 20 inches. Widespread. Now, keep in mind, everything that we have here in this orange color. I'm going to erase all this. I'm going to switch colors again. Let's see. What would be a good color? We'll go black. Black should show up easy. Please look at all of this. All right, we are looking for the orange colors. Look at where all of this orange goes. I mean, that is 8 to 12 inches with higher amounts possible. And even getting down into Jamaica, as you can see, maybe the western side of the island does not receive so much rain and wind. So, if this is what we're looking at, my recommendation for folks in Jamaica would be to kind of keep an eye on the forecast. But if you've got friends, family, anything like that on the west side of the island and you live on the east side of the island, you may want to go visit. But you're going to have to do it early enough to where you avoid the rain, you avoid the potential of the flooding, the landslides, and before the winds come to play. So if you guys there, what it's looking like with a lot of the central and eastern portions of the island, for folks that maybe be a little vulnerable, some of your elderly, if you can get them to the western side of the island, that may be optimal at this point in time. Just looking at what we're seeing with the forecast. It does look like rainfall, and then even if the storm were to make landfall there in Jamaica, say even in south central Jamaica, you are going to be on that western side, which is, I'm not going to say that it's going to be dramatically weaker, but it won't be as strong as the eastern side of the circulation. So that could give a small little area or a small zone of the island that would allow for the most vulnerable individuals to be kind of on that side of the island just for safety precautions. because power outages are a guaranteed with this. I would not be surprised if the entire island is knocked out of power if it hits central Jamaica. But if it's more of a eastern Jamaica, we may be able to keep some areas and some pockets over there in the extreme western side of the island, you know, kind of buffeted from the major impacts, and at least leave a portion of the island that would allow for, you know, kind of the base of operations for recovery to the recovery processes to begin for the eastern side of the island. As far as the southwestern peninsula of Haiti is concerned, my heart goes out to all those folks. I mean, it's a very poor country. It's always dealing with a lot of political strife. I know that there are outside interests and all that other stuff that we won't get into, but the loss of life here, especially in and around Port-au-Prince, could be extreme, and I wish everybody the best. Please, 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 if you guys could get off the peninsula and get up further into the country, here into central Haiti, or even northern portions of Haiti, that would be you know, obviously the best case scenario, because anybody really within this 30-inch isolated 30-inch plus range, you're at risk. Your property's at risk. Granted, you could do everything you can to protect it, but you know, you're dealing with elevated terrain and a lot of rainfall. You'd be similar to some of the scenes that we've seen with Helene. It has that potential and is expected here on in southwestern Haiti, but possible there in Jamaica. So please, folks, it's starting to look like that Jamaica may be able to find a little bit of an easier impact on that western side. And looking at the satellite, you could see we're starting to get some of the clouds starting to creep in. You know, I don't even know why I'm doing this. We can just go get the radar out of Jamaica. Let's see here. So there is definitely some increasing rain off the southeastern portion of the island, and some rain that is beginning to come through there. Let's get it, see if we can get it a little closer. Yeah, there's some intermittent showers and thunderstorms that are rolling through from the northeast or east northeast. Again, if you guys have got, if you've got people that are vulnerable and stuff like that, and you could get them over here towards Montego Bay just by looking at the current data, that might be the safest spot. If everything were to kind of stay more focused to the eastern side, we may be able to spare Montego Bay from severe impacts and the areas there in western Jamaica. It's not a guarantee, folks. I'm just going off of what the current data is showing us, and trying to find a way, in any way, to save lives. That's it. That's all I care about. I don't want anybody to perish from this at all. That is all I care about, is making sure everybody is safe. That's why I sit here and do this with y'all every season. Just want to save people from the wrath of Mother Nature. All right, we are now going to take a look at our Euro and GFS total precipitation models. Now, if you guys have been watching our lives recently, the Euro has shown some very, very large totals for the entire island of Jamaica. Well, as of the 6Z, the western side of Jamaica does not look like it's getting an extraordinarily large and catastrophic amount of rain. If we look here into the eastern side, that's where we're getting up here into the purples. And that is represented by the National Hurricane Center's forecast graphic, and showing that the east side could see upwards of 30 inches of rain. The GFS shows hardly any rain for Jamaica, which I still think that the GFS is running on a bias. And if you guys really want to know, and I was looking at this yesterday, so we're going to go here into the bias. And this will show us at the 72-hour mark how terrible, and I mean terrible, the GFS has been. Now, if we want to jump on another one, this is why I say I don't use it. The CMC, terrible. The UK Met, you haven't performed very well either. But the GFS, complete failure. Total failure. And as you can see with the 96-hour, 700 miles. Like, you got to be kidding me. Just failure all the way across the board with this. Our key messages, and as soon as I get through these, I will be looking at the chat and trying to answer any questions that may be there. So if you guys got any questions, please feel free. Key message number 1, specifically for Jamaica. Melissa's slow movement will bring a multi-day period of damaging winds and heavy rainfall beginning tonight, likely causing catastrophic flash flooding and numerous landslides. There is an increasing risk of life-threatening storm surge early next week. All preparations should be completed today. Rush them to completion immediately. Number 2, this is for Haiti. Catastrophic flash flooding and landslides are expected across southwestern Haiti into early next week, likely causing extensive infrastructural damage and potentially prolonged isolation of communities. Immediate preparations to protect life and property are urged. Strong winds could also potentially last for a day or more over the Tiburon Peninsula. Number 3, Dominican Republic. Heavy rainfall could produce potentially catastrophic flash flooding and numerous landslides in southern regions. Number 4, Eastern Cuba, Bahamas, and the Turks and Caicos. Monitor Melissa closely. There is an increasing risk of a significant storm surge, damaging winds, and heavy rainfall by the middle of next week. In eastern Cuba, the risk of life-threatening flash flooding and landslides is increasing. All right, now we're over to the database tab, and I am going to check our comments for any questions, if anybody has any. I am trying to get the weather alerts here from the government of Jamaica. As you can see, there are many alerts there. I would like to have the news bulletin, if I could please. Are we going to load the news release today? We didn't last night, but we did today. All right. All right, let me check here. All right. Let's see, weather alert. Yeah, the NHC did mention it. Hold on, let's see here. Uncertainty, 3 different solutions: South, Euro, landfall, GFS. Can you compare the models? Absolutely. I really don't trust the CMC at all. If it's moving at 1 to 3 miles an hour, would it not get to become category 5 since it's moving so slow to get that warm water? No. Unfortunately, no. You saying you want it to be a category 4 or 5? Let me be very clear with Ryzen. or Rise JA here on YouTube, let me be very clear. I don't ever want anybody to perish or be hurt from a tropical cyclone, period. I do not look for any disastrous situation to occur. I don't. Unfortunately, is the fact that that is what we are looking at with the data. I would like this to be a nothing. This has the potential of being retired by the end of the year. I don't want anybody to feel harm. I'm not the guy that gets here on these live streams and it's like, oh, here comes a hurricane. Let's get all excited. We've got, let's get attention. I don't care about attention. Never have, never will. I don't do this for any fortune or fame or monetary kickback. None. Right? We have no sponsors. I pay for this out of my pocket. All of it. Have for years. This is my first year on YouTube. I've been doing this for years on Facebook. Our Facebook followers requested us to come to YouTube because of what I bring to the table. So please don't misunderstand me, folks. I never want anybody to be harmed. Ever. Ever. Okay. Taking a look at our rest of the questions here in the Canadian model. Yes, weather alert. We can bring that up. So the Canadian here, again, is the CMC. And if you look in its 72-hour and 96-hour forecasts, it has not performed well at all. And it rarely does. Now, granted, National Hurricane Center might mention it. And it is kind of taken into account. But from my personal preference, I don't use the CMC's solutions very much at all. I will compare it when it comes to your deterministic tracks. All right, we will, let's see, 6Z. We'll get a better graphic like this. Wrong one. So when you look at this, you have two versions of the CMC. You've got the CMC ensembles. Where's the CMC main? Where are you? Oh, you're right there. You're underneath the TVCN. But you're well to the left of the track. I go by the higher probabilities. I look at all of this in probabilistic terms. All of it. I mean, I never really hone in on one model or another. The only thing that I've really done and that has performed quite well this year and has been quite shocking for the debut of a model has been the Google DeepMind. And as you could tell with the National Hurricane Center's discussion, in the beginning of the year, they didn't mention the DeepMind as much because it was new, and that's obvious. It's got to earn its quote-unquote street cred or its, reliability. It's got to earn that trust. Well, it definitely did when it came to Aaron. It pretty much dog-walked the rest of the models. And with Aaron, and especially with the intensity. There's been quite a few that have, as far as its intensity is concerned, out into the Western Pacific that have performed extraordinarily well as well. They have also done extremely well into the Eastern Pacific and their systems. So Google DeepMind has definitely earned the respect of the National Hurricane Center, and I do know from participating in some presentations and webinar series that the folks there at DeepMind and Google work hand in hand with the folks at the Hurricane Research Division of the National Hurricane Center. So they're back and forth talking pretty much constantly. And wait till you see some of the updates that are coming out for DeepMind. They're just trying to figure out how to kind of release them to the public. But they're back there, and it's quite an amazing feature for sure. I'm mind blown. Never seen a model debut and just walk in like king of the jungle before the end of the season, and that's kind of what has been going on. It has performed extraordinarily well. All right, again, folks, please follow your official sources. You can use the database that is tied to the page, as you can see on the North America tab. You can bring it right to the countries that you have interest in. Here we've got Jamaica. They are pulling out all of the stops. They're releasing their news release and their bulletins. This is for folks there in Jamaica. So please follow your official sources. They do this for a reason. Jumping over to Haiti. That was yesterday. Do we have a new update? Haiti, unfortunately, is hit or miss with some of their bulletins. I wish it was more, frequent and they were steady on it, but it's not, unfortunately. So please, folks there in Haiti, if you can get off that peninsula, please do. A lot of those communities are anticipated to be cut off and isolated due to the flooding. The Dominican Republic, as you can see here, they are issuing their correspondence. We've got Santo Domingo East at 177.9 millimeters of rain. The center of Los de Heros, 175.6 millimeters. Los Prados, 160.5. So quite a bit of rain is still falling there across southern and southwestern portions of the Dominican Republic. Please, folks, follow your official forecast. That's what this database is for. Jumping over to Cuba, as we could see here, they're also issuing bulletins for their residents as well. So again, over and over again, I will say this a million times, follow the official sources. Follow, we'll use the National Hurricane Center, we'll use the data, but then those folks that are responsible for these countries, they understand the localized topography and the localized little microclimates of the region a lot better than the rest of us do. They live there, we don't. They understand the things that are, the specific intricacies of the local environment. And we don't understand that. So please follow the official sources. They have knowledge that folks from the National Hurricane Center about your local area that the National Hurricane Center and folks like myself do not possess. Now, jumping over to the Bahamas. Let's see here. You guys, all right, we're waiting on this to reload. This was from yesterday, I can tell. And we have not loaded. We need this to refresh. This did not refresh. All right, let's try it now. They still haven't issued a special statement, but when did this get issued? This one came out this morning at 6 a.m. Eastern. Excellent. So again, they are issuing, they're issuing stuff for their folks as well. So please, you can grab all the official sources. We've got the Turks and Caicos here. As you can see here, we'll come back to the home screen, see if they've got anything. Hurricane preparedness campaign for May and June of 2023. So no, they have not updated their website in a long time. It will be the last that they did was for Hurricane Aaron. They have not released anything on Melissa just yet. And for our friends over here into the Caymans, you guys are pretty much out of the woods as far as this is concerned. And yeah, you didn't even update with the intermediate advisory. And if you guys felt really, really threatened, I would think that you would have done that because you guys do an excellent job of communicating that information to your residents, and all of these do. It's just unfortunate that Haiti doesn't have the funding or the infrastructure to really do this on a continuous basis. There's only just a couple people trying to make sure that this gets done, and unfortunately it's they need more, and they don't have it, and that's sad. I really wish that they did. I would certainly like for everybody to be safe, to have the knowledge and the information available to them on a regular basis that would allow them to make the best decisions to protect life and property. Because again, I don't want anybody to perish. I don't care where you live. I don't care what you believe in. I don't care, like your religion, your politics, your race, your culture. I don't care. I just want you breathe the same air as the rest of us. If you cut your skin open, you bleed the same color that we do. You deserve the same respect as everybody else. Stay safe. All right, our European ensembles, this is the 6Z run. There is still a little bit of cross-track spread there, though it is beginning to shrink. Whether it be, whether it gets out to the eastern portion of the island, the western portion of the island, the central portion of the island, that is kind of undetermined here by some of these ensembles, but the overall rainfall amount and what we're looking at from the official National Hurricane Center forecast, which is what you trust. You don't just look at the models and be like, oh, I'm going to pick that one right there. No, see, the National Hurricane Center takes in with all of their experts, and believe me when I tell you, they are definitely experts. I've talked to quite a few of them. They know what they're doing, folks. Don't underestimate or ever count out the abilities of the folks there at the National Hurricane Center. They are very, very intelligent when it comes to the tropics, and that's what they do. They dedicate their entire lives to this. Nobody that does this and does this for the right purposes wants anybody to even be injured. We would love to have, we know we got to live with storms like this, but we would love to have the infrastructure and the abilities to be able to keep every single person safe. I can tell you, in some storms out there in the Western Pacific, they'll get hit by the equivalent of a major hurricane here. It would be a typhoon out there in the Western Pacific, and they could get hit by a storm, we'll say 125, 130 mile an hour winds, and end up with 0 fatalities. You tell me anywhere here in the Western Hemisphere where we're going to get a landfall of a strong Category 3, Category 4 storm that doesn't result in some type of fatality. If they can do it, we can do it. And that's why we do what we do. Every little bit helps. Now, looking at the GEFS and comparing those ensemble members, we can see it is a little bit to the east of some of what we saw with the Euro. Yes, we're going to have those little outliers that are going to kind of try to creep out here. Not really worried about that. You have to consider each one of these lines and the level of probabilities, and each one of these lines with the GEFS is approximately 3%, being that there are 31 members of the GEFS ensemble. The Euro, on the other hand, is 50 ensemble members, so each line is approximately 2%. If I've been waiting on the 6Z, do we have it? Yes, we do. This is the Euro AI ensemble. And as we could see, there is quite a bit of cross-track spread south, and the intensity. I will say this: the intensity for the Euro AI model has not been quite accurate this year. So if anybody's using that, I monitor these models multiple times a day. I'm constantly watching them. It has not performed very well on intensity. Track, not so bad. Could be better. Could definitely be worse. We'll give it, maybe about above average area. Maybe if we're going on grades, maybe a B, B minus, somewhere in that range as far as track goes. I've seen it kind of get a little haywire here and there. But as far as intensity is concerned, D. It needs help. It doesn't do the intensity like the other models do. And all of these blues, anything, the moment that the storm itself were to get below 980 millibars, reaching 979, it would change over to these red colors. So all of these blues that you see is basically the Euro AI model telling us that the storm is not going to get below 980 millibars. Well, when we look at the public advisory at the 8, it's already 982. So just to kind of give y'all a little bit of comparison, I do, I really need to start writing this stuff down, maybe taking pictures and stuff of it, because the only difference between science and not science is writing it down. If I'd write it down, I'd have a lot. The Google DeepMind. Now, here, the ensemble mean is right there. And if we back this off, the ensemble mean still has it coming in category 4. Low end category 4, but still category 4, very impactful. But as we could see, the Google DeepMind really has honed in on the potential for direct landfall here into Jamaica with some very impactful winds, rainfall. I mean, we're looking at the worst case scenario, especially with the onshore winds on the eastern side. This thick line right here being the ensemble mean, that means that would be the center of the storm itself. So we're just going to draw a rough circle there that would, hypothetically say where the core is. And it's this eastern side onshore wind that is very concerning to me, because you would be dropping surge values into these areas right here, into these harbors and bays. And that water is only going to pile up along the coastline. But here's the problem. All of the rain that was falling on land, that's going to try to get out as well, and it won't be able to. Now, that's why it is very concerning. My heart goes out to these people. Please rush all preparations to completion immediately, because there's still enough uncertainty to this to where, yes, we may be able to find a little bit of reprieve over here on the western side of the island. But then if you look at the overall ensemble mean and ensemble envelope, they're certainly not out of the threat zone. And could see potentially direct impact. The overall mean of the ensembles brings it towards the center, but the whole island is kind of highlighted. So with a what looks to be a bulk, kind of a grouping right there, and as you could see, kind of follow that cluster right here. And yes, there is like another camp out here. So, but it seems that a lot of the other models are also leaning towards this eastern side. It's not a guarantee, folks. It's certainly not a 100% science. If it was, we wouldn't have these ensemble members. We would just get one solution and be like, all right, here, we've got the innovative the innovative advancements and the technological advancements that we needed in modeling and being able in observations, whether it be from the satellite, whether it be from ground-based observations, or even underwater observations with some of the gliders and stuff like that they've got out there. And some of the autonomous boating structures that they've got out there taking information, ships. You've got everything else that is out there. If it was a perfect science, we would have that. Maybe someday in the future, maybe our children's children's children will not have to worry about this any longer. That the technology is advanced enough, and the computer power is advanced enough to where with AI that it forms and it knows pretty much exactly where it's going to go. We don't have that abilities yet, folks, and so we got to deal with what we've got, and it right now. It leads to some questions and some uncertainties. And, preparation is key. The more prepared you are, prepare for the worst. If anything changes, it's only going to get better. And the Google DeepMind breakdown, I do want to show something that this is going to sound silly to folks, but please do not misunderstand or misconstrue what I am trying to say here. I look at these ensemble members, every single one of them, okay? Like every run over the past, I would say 6, 7 runs of the Google DeepMind. We have seen things that the weathermodels.com and their website, we've seen something that they've never done before, and that is include this new color category for 900 and everything that is 920 millibars or below. Over the last many runs, we have seen every single one of these ensemble members at 950 millibars or lower. This is the first run that I've seen in a couple days to where we've got, now granted, it might only be 2% each one, but we're starting to see at least that one that shows, all right, it didn't get this catastrophic situation. And that is hopefully a sign of some better news. I can't say good news, but some better news that we're not looking at this thing, reaching the low 900s or something like we saw with Milton last year in the Gulf. Again, we're processing all of the data, looking for anything that is kind of out of the ordinary, and that has been a change. I'm very heavy into pattern recognition, and that is just been a change. That's all. And I'm not gonna lie, if ensemble number 44 wants to verify and have the lowest pressures of 961 millibars throughout its entire life cycle of Melissa, I'll take that. I'll take that all day long. I'll take it absolutely, because that beats seeing 940s, 930s. The lower the pressure, the worse the storm. The higher the pressure, like again, I just want people to be safe. I don't want any loss of life at all, ever, with any tropical cyclone, no matter where you're located. All right, a quick shot with Earthnol here this morning. As we could see, we are down at the surface. We've already got our trusty little green circle there from Earthnol. And we are going to come up 1 mile above the ocean surface, 2 miles above the ocean surface, about 3.5 miles above the ocean surface, and then above the storm at around 6 miles. As you can see, yes, there could be a little bit of shear, but an upper level anticyclone is beginning to develop over the top of the storm. That's why it spins in the opposite direction as what you see in the lower levels. And it is, for all intents and purposes, pretty well vertically stacked. Still working on it. If it was and it had an eye wall feature, trust me, these pressures would be plummeting, not dropping, plummeting. All it needs is a full-blown closed eye wall. And it's holding steady pressures, 985, 986. We've got, yeah, so it's though the wind field is starting to develop. And maybe we very well, with its structure, I do expect this to go hurricane at the 11, but I may be wrong. I'm definitely not always right when it comes to this. I'm right more often than I'm not, but I expect this to be a hurricane at the 11. I still do. Let's look at the satellite presentation. It's daytime. This is cyclonic WX. Come on now. Let's see, where are we at? Yeah, this is really beginning to tighten up. Let's get some of our microwave data on this. Oh, Lord. Okay, yeah. That's what we're dealing with. Absolutely. This is microwave imagery. Yeah, that's beginning to get organized. Definitely beginning to get organized and starting to wrap around. And again, the moment that the eye wall on this closes, we're off to the races, folks. As soon as all of this red connects around in a circle, game on, and the pressures will begin to plummet almost immediately. And it looks impressive. Not gonna lie, it's really starting to wrap up. All right, I'm not gonna go through a full breakdown here. I usually save those for the 6 p.m. where we'll jump into the deterministics and get into all the oceanic heat and the depths and MJO and the other basins and all that other stuff. I am going to try to pace myself here today. So I am going to go ahead and sign off here. What's the storm size relative to Jamaica? You had to ask that question, didn't you, dear? Do 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 do. Right now, I guess the CDO itself is about maybe what, 153, 140, yeah, 140, 150 miles, kind of in the central dense overcast portion of the storm. And then from tip to tip on Jamaica, you're looking at 146 miles. So, roughly, yeah, approximately. So, weather nerds, satellite data works great for measuring stuff. It's again, if you know the resources that are available out there, you can really kind of use them to your advantage. But all right, everybody, we will be back live here again in about 3 hours at 1 p.m. Eastern. We will then also be live again at our normal time at 6 p.m. and again tonight at 10:45 p.m. for the 11 p.m. advisory. All times Eastern Daylight Time. So, with that, I am going to go ahead and sign off here for a little while, and I'll see you guys here again in a few hours. So, I'll talk to you then. For folks in the watched and warned areas, rush all preparations to completion. Can't stress that enough. And we'll get the 11 p.m. It'll be out on our Facebook page. All the advisory and everything as soon as it is generated here. So thank you, everybody, and we will talk to you again here shortly. Bye for now.